In the year 2027, for nearly 2 decades, the ability of humanity to reproduce has been non-existent, leading to the brink of extinction and societal collapse. Among the few nations with functioning governments, the United Kingdom stands, attracting a surge of refugees seeking entry illegally. The military patrols the streets, apprehending immigrants for imprisonment or worse. The story unfolds as Theo Farron, our protagonist, visits a bakery for coffee, learning from the TV that the world's youngest person has died. Despite the shop's mourning, Theo remains indifferent. Shortly after leaving, an explosion rocks the bakery, causing chaos but leaving Theo unscathed. Unfazed, he proceeds to work, where few are productive amid grief for the deceased youngster. Seizing the moment, Theo deceives his boss into allowing him to work from home. On his journey back, Theo encounters hostility towards the train from rebels and police-guarded refugee cages at the station, yet he remains unaffected. Reuniting with his friend Jasper Palmer, they drive to Jasper's countryside home, speculating about the bakery explosion possibly being a government scheme. Passing a bus ferrying refugees to Bexhill camp, they arrive at Jasper's secluded abode. Jasper jests about Theo's solitary life and drinking habit, offering him a permanent stay, which Theo declines. The following day, as Theo leaves for work, he is abducted by a militant group known as the Fishes while on the street. With his face concealed, they transport him to their territory, only revealing his surroundings once safely inside. To Theo's astonishment, he finds himself face-to-face with his ex-wife, Julian Taylor, who explains their dramatic actions were necessary to evade the authorities. Julian, a fugitive since their activist days, clarifies they were not responsible for the bakery bombing. Taking Theo for a walk, Julian discloses her need for transfer papers to aid a refugee girl's journey to the coast, a task Theo can facilitate through his cousin. Despite Julian's insistence and even a monetary offer, Theo declines, feigning self-sufficiency. Uncooperative, Theo is blindfolded again and escorted out. En route, a Fishes member warns Theo that their surveillance will persist, leaving him with a sign to signal if he changes his mind before being left on the street with bus fare. Later, Theo seemingly reconsiders and visits his cousin Nigel, a minister, at his private residence where he restores classic artworks. Over lunch, Theo subtly requests the transfer papers, fabricating a tale about his girlfriend's ill brother in Brighton. Nigel acknowledges the favor's magnitude amidst managing his son's disconnected behavior, before promising to explore the possibility of acquiring the documents. Led to Julian waiting on a bus, they discuss the papers and reminisce, but tensions arise over their past grief and separation. Upon arrival at their destination, Theo queries his selection, to which Julian asserts her trust. As they meet Luke beneath a bridge, Theo receives his payment and meets Miriam and Key, the girl he'll escort. En route to Canterbury, Theo dozes off, then shares nostalgic moments and plays a game with Julian. However, they're ambushed, resulting in Julian's injury. Fleeing, they encounter police, leading Luke to neutralize them before continuing their escape. At a stop, they bid farewell to Julian, with Theo initially concealing his grief until allowed to mourn briefly. Urged by Luke, they depart to avoid capture. Arriving in a Fish's safe house, Theo requests transportation to London, but is advised against it for safety reasons. Instead, he's offered amenities and engages in casual conversation before Miriam retrieves him to tend to Key. Miriam leads Theo to the barn as the Fishes convene to elect Luke as their new leader. Left alone with Key, she reveals Julian's advice and her pregnancy, urging Theo's assistance in reaching a boat called the Tomorrow. Initially resistant, Theo is stunned by Key's revelation, but their moment is disrupted by Luke's return, prompting their return to the house. Watching news of Julian's discovery, a debate ensues over Key's fate, with the Fishes wary of exposing her to government intervention while Theo advocates for her well-being. Concerns about contacting the elusive human project add complexity, leading Key to opt to stay at the safe house until after the birth, still determined to reach the Tomorrow thereafter. That night, Theo, unable to sleep, overhears arrivals outside, discovering they're the attackers from earlier. Learning of Luke's scheme to exploit Key's baby for political gain, Theo alerts Key and Miriam, facilitating their escape. Amidst evading guards, they disable vehicles and board one, albeit encountering mechanical issues. Theo's impromptu maneuver attracts attention, prompting a pursuit where Theo and Miriam fend off assailants to protect Key. Reaching the bottom of the hill, they encounter mud, requiring Theo to push while Miriam jump-starts the vehicle. With Theo safely back inside, they flee the farm. Theo confides in Miriam about a hiding place, leading them to Jasper's welcoming abode. Over dinner, they deliberate their options. The human project's boat will make 2 stops, neither ideal. Jasper proposes Bexhill as a solution, urging them to eat, while he prepares. The next morning, Miriam practices yoga outside while Key braids Janice's hair. Theo joins them and inquires about Key's pregnancy. She reveals she's 8 months along and unsure of the father's identity. The following morning, they're awakened by an alarm signaling the fish's arrival. Jasper instructs Theo to contact Sid and escorts the women to the car, opting to remain behind, confident in his ability to handle the situation. Theo pauses to observe from a distance as the fishes confront Jasper, ultimately shooting him. Concealing the truth from Key, Theo reassures her before driving away for good. Arriving at the rendezvous point, an abandoned school, Miriam shares her past experiences as a midwife amidst the infertility crisis. Sid arrives, and after a password exchange, they board his truck en route to the refugee camp. Key experiences contractions during the journey attributed to car sickness. Arriving at Bexhill, they adopt somber expressions before boarding a bus with other refugees, Key's condition worsening. As they reach the camp, her water breaks, signaling the onset of labor. As Key's distress becomes evident, Miriam feigns religious mania, diverting the guard's attention and leading him to escort her away for execution. When the guard approaches Key, Theo cleverly points to the fluid on the floor, claiming it as urine and excrement, effectively dissuading him. Theo and Key disembark from the bus, joining a line where they briefly lose each other when Theo is asked to discard his watch. Reuniting, they are eventually released into the city and now a refugee camp. They search for Marichka, a Romanian woman who leads them to a safe abandoned building with a private room for Key to give birth. Despite the difficulties of labor, Theo supports Key, and she delivers a healthy baby girl. The following day, Sid visits, revealing plans to help them escape the increasingly chaotic city. However, Marichka distrusts him, suggesting his ulterior motives. Sid, revealing his intent to claim the bounty on their heads, is confronted by Marichka, allowing Theo to intervene. After a struggle, they overpower Sid and flee, pursued by him through the city's turmoil. Amidst the chaos, Marichka leads them to a building where they find temporary refuge. They are provided with essentials and cared for by kind strangers. With a limited time to leave, they prepare to depart, but encounter Luke and the fishes. Luke takes Key and the baby, leaving Theo and Marichka at the mercy of the other fishes. As the fishes prepare to execute them, military intervention provides a distraction, allowing Theo and Marichka to escape and search for Key. Despite getting separated, Theo persists, navigating through the conflict until he finds Key and her baby near Luke. As Luke attempts to persuade them, a bomb detonates, ending his life. Theo rescues Key and the baby, effortlessly leaving the building amid the awe of onlookers. As the refugees and fishes encounter them, they're treated almost like a miraculous vision, allowing Theo, Key, and the baby to pass without hindrance. Soldiers inside the building, upon noticing the baby, halt their firing to let them through, garnering stares of shock from onlookers outside. Once a safe distance away, the gunfire resumes. Returning to their point of capture, they reunite with Marichka, who guides them to an underground passage where their boat awaits. Despite Marichka's reluctance to join them, she pushes the boat, sending them off to sea. Theo rows until they reach the buoy, their designated rendezvous point. While waiting, Key notices blood on the boat, revealing Theo has been shot, though he reassures her of his condition. As the baby cries, Theo teaches Key how to soothe her, prompting Key to decide to name her daughter Dylan, after Theo's lost child. In a poignant moment, Theo loses consciousness, possibly passing away, just as the Tomorrow arrives to ferry Key and Dylan to safety, concluding the movie. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos.